Hey everyone, this is Stingray and I'm coming at you from Friedrich Park in San Antonio, Texas. And it's been another interesting day with the family, which is why I'm posting this right now. It's sparked my decision to get back on Facebook. And the reason for that is basically I just don't have any more time for any kind of two-sided presentations, and I'm calling everyone to a group conversation, which many people are unable to participate in when they feel that they're galvanized in different ways, that they're polarized as opposites. And that's why I'm having this group conversation here. I just talked with my dad yesterday. I received at least a request about how he is. I'm gonna have to move this. This keeps falling. I've got my bag of nuts and a tomato. This is here. Let me show you, because this tomato is from my garden. I've got my nut sack and my tomato. This one's a little more green than the other ones. I think the plant that it grows on is a different strain or variety. Whatever the case. But today, for this particular post, I wanted to give a public update so that I don't have to respond to every individual update. And it might seem crass or crude or whatever you want to call it to do that here. And that would be from the perspective of someone who has any laundry to air that's dirty. Everyone's laundry is dirty at some point, is all I've got to say. And the only thing that I want to air is on the side of honesty and love and compassion. So I'm going to err on the side of compassion by posting a public update here. I just talked with my dad for the second time today. The first time he was having trouble hearing me, which is a progression that happens as people become medicated in order to alleviate former addictions. And as they become medicated, and as the medication either wears off or becomes metabolized, they can return to a less euphoric side, which was at first open and apologetic for the things that they did because they saw beauty in the world. Once the euphoric aspect of some of these medicines that replace the illusion of self-control, once medication starts to wear off, a person will return to their quote-unquote normal self. Well, if a person was irresponsible, they're going to lash out in different ways at different times for different reasons. In this particular case, my father talked to me on the phone saying that he just talked with a sibling, and that sibling said that the other sibling, who I sent a letter to, could not understand what I wrote to them. And I told my dad it was very similar to a situation that he experienced, because my dad, I sent a letter to him. I've sent letters to people. Have you guys ever received a letter from me? Was it encouraging? Did it have some kind of words of love or compassion? I'm not sure. Or even if it seemed direct, did it have any kind of words of love or compassion? I'm not sure. That's going to be up to the reader. And in my particular vision of what I wrote Dad something that was just open and honest, saying, hey Dad, when you take responsibility for certain things, you no longer will live this destructive style of life. And for whatever reason, that letter set him off. He tore it up. It was on the floor, torn up. And it was when my dad became a silver alert, when I basically told you that I traveled with a relative of mine, and we found him not in the town he lives in, but in a whole other city, an hour and a half away from that city that he lived in. So I say lived in because he burned his house down recently, which if you haven't seen that, go through the history of these videos and you can actually see a little portion of the snippets of the walkthrough of this burnt out shell of a house. The house was already falling apart before then. I'd already invested many ways trying to help my father to recover some sense of sanity and stability. I'd even gone on a trip with him recently to New Mexico, and we took an extended road trip where he really There's a beautiful yellow here. I don't know if you could see it or not. It was a beautiful yellow butterfly. I'm out here in nature, if I didn't mention it already, which I know I did, and this is the most amazing place to release toxins, to release toxins. I talk about spelling and a lot of other weird things on this channel that some people may or may not get, but I'm sitting in a very special place where I met a friend not long ago who immediately treated me like family, and that's how I knew there would be hope in this world. You know, you can meet people who are just so polarizingly similar that you feel like you've been working the same mission at the same time. And how cool to be able to work that mission with someone else who gets the mission. In this particular case, my mission is sloughing off the old skin, sloughing off the dead. A lot of people will use that and be like, you're comparing yourself to a what? To a reptile? Some people have a reptile dysfunction. There are no pills for it. It's just simply judgment. And when you judge, well, it's a very entitled lifestyle where everyone can see you and acknowledge you based on your illusion that you're presenting to other people. The thing about walking around peacefully and walking around arrogantly, they're both very similar because people are pretty happy. I'm pretty happy. And at the same time, I'm extremely challenged with the relationship that I'm going through with my father right now. And I do not feel like it's fair for me to have been asked over and over to pick up my abuser. If someone were faced with a situation where they were unwillingly forced to participate in an act, and then for whatever reason they were asked afterward, hey, why don't you go pick up that person that made you do these atrocious things, and why don't you pick them up, and why don't you endure their conversations, and if they try to do this to you again, well, you know, there's a system for that, but in the meantime, there's no one else that's going to pick this person up. You have to pick this person up. I feel like I've been dragged through this situation enough already. And I just recently talked with my dad, and I told him, hey, I sent you a letter one time, and you also didn't understand it. You tore it up. And he said, what? I didn't tear it up. I didn't tear it up. And he was acting like an ego might act when they are faced with identifying as the person. What? The way they talk, even, you know, and we know the genres of how people talk. We're all characters. I might sound like some California surfer dude, some rock star or something like that, compared to what I am ethnically, or even ethically. I might be completely different from what I sound like. And I'm telling you, I'm happy with my life. I'm content. I have more than enough. I'm blessed. I'm fortunate. And I try my best to share what I have in order to cover the bases to allow other people to help themselves as much as possible as well. And that effort is a collective friendship. When you're in the friends zone, which a lot of people fear, you'll recognize that people help one another out. You don't ghost one another like you do in the family zone or in the not so friendly zone. You don't ghost one another. Recently, I sent a letter to my dad's relative who has remained hardened of heart, who has not spoken with me about this circumstance that my dad has put me through and the rest of the family. And I've suggested that I have ways to at least help overcome some of these adversities. But the first thing that's required is probably group conversation, like an intervention. The next thing that's probably required is proper nutrition. There's a cat up the road that's talked about some things like 7-day vegan challenge, but they're really only interested in selling t-shirts and, you know, prana-based products that result in some kind of a tangible exchange of compassion. I'm not after selling any more products. In fact, I want to use each product I have until it wears out and maybe have it all burned with me if I don't have anything of value. And if I do have something of value, I do hope that I'm able to share that with other people without burning the house down. I hope that I continue to remain responsible, and every day is a test of rehabilitation for someone like you and I, who have struggled through circumstances. And the more we get presented with things like, hey, do you have an update for this person who has abused you all the time and who, frankly, we don't want to talk with directly, so we're going to allow you to continue to take the fire, take the punches, and we're going to continue to allow you to do it alone so that our family will not, literally will not write you back because they don't understand what you wrote in a language that we supposedly share across this great nation. With all of that being said, I think that I would just say goodbye. Goodbye. Remember signing off of that online subscription-based internet service? Goodbye. Sometimes that's all you can do. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. I ask for miracles. I ask also for His will to be done. There's no beating around the bush. I don't have time to try and figure out what new miracle is going to get me out of this jam today. All I have is the opportunity to bring joy to whoever's presence I happen to be fortunate enough to be blessed to be in. And that's it. I can only bring them joy, whoever's around me. To do that, though, sometimes you have to bring yourself joy. So I'm out here at Friedrich Wilderness area, walking this amazing trail system, where I saw something the other day. I'm going to mention it right now because I hadn't, it was actually 2 days ago and I still haven't uploaded the video. I saw a beautiful garter snake, and I did what I do with all wildlife encounters when I'm presented with the opportunity to stay alone with it for some time. I'll observe it and I won't disturb it. In this particular case, I was observing it for so long that I wanted to say something, and I wanted it to know that I came in peace, and I didn't know how to talk snake, so I just thought, what's the most peaceful thing that I can think of right now? And I thought of the Our Father. So I began to pray the Our Father, and I picked a really interesting spot to sit on, and I'm in some cases paying the price. I'm trying not to flinch, and I'm also hoping that saying what I'm saying, the things that are happening are just to keep me on point and to make the conversation last however long it's supposed to last. So I started to say the Our Father, and I whispered it, Our Father. The second I started saying Our Father, the word, I guess the vibration of the air scared the snake and it sped off. But I continued to whisper the Our Father, and at that point in time, it slowed down, and as I was saying the Our Father, and actually as I finished the Our Father, it started to do this dance with its neck. It was really amazing, and it's something that you won't believe without video, so I'll have to share the video with you. Whether or not you're subscribing for the amazing things that I see in nature, or for this interesting story of a challenging situation that I'm telling you that I'm going to succeed through, I hope that you do subscribe and click on like or comment, or both. And also share the clips that you find relevant. In this case, I'm showing you a public update about how my father's doing. So I told him about this letter. He got mad. He started acting like agitated. And I said, Dad, I'm just having a conversation with you. This actually happened. And then he began to talk about New Mexico. And I said, that's why we came home early. I told you I couldn't work with you. And the reason that you came out to New Mexico with me was you were going to help me on this network setup for a client. And my dad said he didn't remember. And then also he started to say that I didn't ask him to help me with anything. And I did. And I asked him to help with the network setup. And I also asked him to get up and walk with me. Some of the Facebook posts that I made way back then might have alluded to some of those interesting details. They may not have. The whole point is I've begun to document things more clearly, more publicly right here, because I cannot stand any more of the ghosting. Whether you are a teenager or an octogenarian or beyond, the ghosting, it's got to stop. It's ridiculous. This egocentric response system that we have is what's getting a lot of us in trouble. And so as I'm talking with Dad, he's saying, well, I have a solution. I'm going to just get as soon as I get my car, I'm going to drive to this rehab place in this other location, and I'm going to just get a hotel, because if I go to rehab, I'm going to come out the same way. it's real simple. You could help me. And I said, Dad, you can help yourself too, right? And all of this agitation, of course, and all of the continued demonstrations of irresponsibility. Remember, he just literally burned down his own house and attempted to set fire to himself. He wants to invite himself into my own space. My partner and I and our pet, we don't want that. And I say that with all of the kindness possible. We don't want it, but I also would absolutely accept my father into my location, especially if he took responsibility for what he did and changed his whole attitude. You can tell when somebody changes their attitude and when they're gonna hose you over and not hose you over. The dangerous thing is, sometimes you can't really tell in your family who would do the same thing, because there are multiple layers of conformity and convenience that keep us from doing the only civil thing possible, which is to at least respond to one another. If I wrote my family a sibling of this person who was in that much trouble and asked for their help, and I wrote it in the language that we both know, and this person was a member of an organization that was high-ranking enough to be considered leadership, they should easily be able to understand the words that I'm using in this public update about how is my dad doing? What is going to happen when he gets out again? If you are hearing this message, you understand this irresponsible person, my father, is demonstrating lack of responsibility enough that they will be a danger to someone else and or themselves. Which, how am I supposed to do anything other than be happy and also have this interesting amount of concern in my mind? That's the conundrum. That's why you're listening with me right now. That's why you're hoping for this miracle that we prayed for recently. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, and deliver us from evil. They're all peaceful words. They all resonate with me peacefully. That's why I told the snake the story. It began to dance because it heard the story. It still hid, forgive but don't forget, don't tread on me, all that stuff. But it didn't do it with hostility. I've seen hostile snakes. I've seen hurt snakes. I've even talked with an injured snake. I thought I was imagining it. More and more, I talk with wildlife, whether it can actually hear me or not. Doesn't matter. It's an energy that we put out. Some of you who watch these kind of channels that are spiritual and mythical and mystical and all that, you see the effects of water. There was a vulture flying over and then people from this side talking. You see the effects of water as it resonates with different frequencies, as people play music to it, sing to it, yell at it. Those same kind of things happen with us. If we are mostly water, how do you think it feels when we get yelled at, hit, thrown in a tub because we peed on ourselves? How do you think it feels? Do you ever think that those actions will stop by the abusive people if nobody stands up to those bullies? If the only person who can possibly stand up to that bully is left alone without being able to have a fighting chance of pinning down that bully in a way where they have to hear what the power of peace compels them to consider, then it's a tough battle. Every one of you who are asking for updates, who aren't contributing in some way that demonstrates that you're sharing this energy, I feel a little bit underwhelmed. This is my time of need. I need help with this situation. At the same time, I guess I don't need that help though. That's why people have left me alone. That's why the siblings of the person who is in such extreme danger of hurting themselves or others doesn't even really consider writing to the son of that person who's also struggling with the same problem from the same person. Not only could we team up, I was trying to think, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Is that how it goes? If we could only team up and recognize we're not even talking about enemies, so this should be really easy. then maybe I'd have a different update. For right now, my update is bleak in terms of what I see happening right now in front of me, especially with another recent rehab situation that I was presented with. And I see it. I've identified it. I've pointed it out. I even used the Our Father in that conversation that I was having with my father. He then proceeded to hang up on me, but only about halfway through the prayer. And it was when I started that he started talking and trying to talk over the prayer. I've had people mock it. It's just words. There's nothing in it that refutes any other religion. There's nothing in it that's against anyone. If anything, it's all-inclusive. The most all-inclusive group doesn't have a bunch of letters. It's just a few simple words, you know? However you take that, it's up to you. If you're offended, you might want to look at the different things that offend you and understand I've been beat down for a long time by someone who raised me quite inadequately to cope in the world without using words of violence and without presenting a stance of violence. I'm not violent though. I mean, have I punched any of you out? Have any of you gotten into a fight with me where we even got to the slapping, punching, spitting, hitting level? You can't name a time when that happened. It's because I don't respond in violence. I've had my share, and I definitely don't want any of my friends, and that includes even people who are no longer in the friend zone, who are family or not. That includes you. I'd like to play a few songs. I'm going to remake some songs for you guys. And the songs are going to be sung a little bit differently. I know I can sing. I know also I don't know if you can see the plane there. I might have gone up way too late to see that. I know I can sing. I also know that there's this side of me that was embarrassed to hear myself sing because I was looking at myself through the people whose eyes may not have even seen me ever to begin with. You know, we look at our own lives in two different ways sometimes, in parallel. We look at it in terms of how does the rest of society see what I'm doing? And sometimes we look at it innocently, like a child, and we don't even evaluate that societal constraint part. We would write a letter to our best friend if we needed help, and that's the only way we could get in touch with them. Our best friend would write back, but they probably wouldn't even spend time writing. They would call, fly down, help, send something, a care package. I've done that. I already tried to send you a letter. I still can't reach you on the phone. I wrote songs about it. For anyone who can't hear me, I'm talking in one of the most common languages right now. I'm at a disadvantage because I only know fully one language. A lot of you who are listening know more than one language. You're blessed. That's a huge benefit. Communication. To communicate with other people and wildlife, some of that's universal. The universal care package is love. And if you haven't received that package in the mail, you might not have contributed enough to help me to have those packages to distribute. Again, I'm not selling anything. I'm asking for a miracle. Monetarily, I know that changes a lot of things. I'd love to receive the income that I've been deserving of for the work that I've put in. And at the same time, I'm more than blessed with what I have. I might have some poor decisions that I need to wipe out from the past, you know, bad, negative debt. But those debts were opportunities for learning. It's kind of like the excess weight that I gained during the Corona era as I came off of my last fasting period. That extra energy came in handy during the last situation where I was cleaning up another mess, for lack of any other way to put it. And it really came in handy. All of the way that things are falling into place, I'm on the right path. If you and I were able to talk recently and you got something, you know, energy-wise out of it, please don't forget to return positive energy. Positive energy isn't adding to a workload and going, hey, you need to do this too. You should do this. You do this. I can't remember this. I've got a lot going on, guys. A lot of the snakes on my path aren't even reptiles. They're just basically right there in front of me, you know? Is that you? Are you watching right now? Have you forgotten to click on like or subscribe? Are you changing your mind whether you like or subscribe to this video? I don't mind making public videos over and over. I don't mind making a lot of words while I'm up here recovering from the walk up the trail as I was aching, you know, from carrying my excess weight up here. I don't mind bringing my smile to you, these clips of nature and wildlife. I don't mind singing. In fact, all of what I'm talking about brings me joy. So, if ever there were a way to further demonstrate someone's lack of ability to communicate and their egocentric armchair activism, political beliefs-bound immobility and hardened heart, this is possibly the way to do it. If you hear any of those words and think they were edgy, they were cutting, well, you know, if you fall on the wrong side of a sword, you're going to get cut. I'm trying not to stab you through in a way that causes a death blow. I don't want to run you through. I just want you to smile. I want to smile also. If we have a mutual acquaintance who is struggling, maybe we both can find a way to help resolve that issue. I just talked to my dad today. He absolutely demonstrated his lack of compassion and his quick ability to revert to exactly what we just dealt with, where this last time he happened to set a house on fire, which really wasn't his to set on fire to begin with. And even if he was entrusted to it, he shouldn't have set it on fire. I've been entrusted to other people's belongings, and I have not set their belongings on fire. I'm respected enough to be asked over and over to help people with the circumstances that they're presented with. Why is that? Do you want someone irresponsible tending to your home, to your livelihood? Or do you want someone who's on the same mission with you? The devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy. I believe those are the three words that were used in association with the devil. That's evil. Kill, steal, and destroy. Of all those things, that's something that my dad has so far kind of taught me. You know, I don't know that he's actively murdered anybody, but I've seen him kill I've heard of him killing certain things. And the pattern is that he probably has that capability as an irresponsible adult. As a more clear participant of society, he probably has the opposite capacity to nourish, to give, and to multiply, to magnify. You know, he recently was talking about giving to this place who he's staying with, and suddenly there was just no, it's like he just wants his wallet so that he can figure out how to go and stay in a hotel while he drives along to wherever he drives to. The update is my dad wants to get out and do the same thing. He's checked himself into this place he's at. He's able to check himself out, whether he cares to admit it or not. And the same way the family doesn't care to admit to not talking with one another in their time of need is the same way that I'm going to go the opposite route, and say, hey, for every word you don't use, I might use 1,000. And until somebody participates, I feel I'm all alone. So since I'm all alone, and if I've got nothing to lose, you're welcome. You're welcome for this video. You're welcome for this half-hour special segment of an update, how my dad is right now, how this biological father of mine is doing, and whether or not they accept responsibility. You know, when my dad accepts responsibility to things, maybe I'll call him what he is more freely. Right now, I'm just saying the words that come to mind. That's how I was moved to speak after and during the course of praying the Our Father, which is absolutely filled with peaceful, pleasant words that have no disrespect intended to anybody. So on that note, thank you so much for watching, subscribing, sharing, participating. And silence is also a choice, and I respect that as well. For those who remain absolutely dead fast in their silence. I do accept contributions that are monetary, and the links are in the description. Have a great day. Peace.